Hi, good morning, everybody. Today, we'll start doing the real thing. Yesterday, we just set up the pivot table and we learned about how the pivot table works. And we just covered one topic, number formatting. Today, we'll start applying filters. Filters. In the whole concept of analyzing data, there are steps that have to be followed. So these steps are regardless of the software you're using. Number one is filtering. Number two is visualization. Number three is prediction. So it will always go filtering, visualizing, and then predicting. When we say filtering, this means when we are filtering something in a layman sense, what does it mean? To filter things, what does it mean? The goats from the sheep. Okay, close. We are missing something. How about you? Yes, you are saying we are missing something. There's something that is essential that you're missing. Any idea? No. Filtering, yes, means selecting, right? Of course, it's selecting. But we are selecting based on a condition. That is filtering in the real sense of filtering things. Making your selection based on condition. Now, if I'm to expand on that, if we want to filter, right, these movies based on country, now we can set it in a way that the data will only return movies that have you a certain country. That is the condition we are setting. So this filtering stage is the most important part of data analyzing, because whatever you filter or whatever your selection is what would be visualized. So those charts you see, whenever a chart is built, that chart is only creating a picture of this selection. So if your selection is not meaningful, your charts will always be non-meaningful. There is no way around it. So filtering means selecting based on condition. That is the term filtering. There's no other way I can explain it. So in Excel, to use your filters, you see that besides the row and the values, there is a box called filters that you can see. Cool. And remember what I said yesterday, that to use these boxes, the efficient way of using them is to click on the value field and dragging it into the respective box you want to apply it to. Remember that if you just click it, Excel will try to be intelligent to automatically suggest a box that it feels that field should belong to. But what we want to do now is to intentionally filter the data. And when I say we are filtering, we are selecting based on certain conditions. So have that in the back of your mind. Now, let's say we are filtering based on country. Now, this is where you need to understand all that we did yesterday. So, grab the country. This is country for me. Click on it and drag it to, it's not coming up. Okay, this country. Click and drag to filters. What have you done? Why are you having this? Now, when you get this type of situations, it's because you've clicked on, first of all, this is just where it's coming from. You have multiple items in your rows. You have ye. So remove you. You have this. You have so many of them. So just uncheck. This is it. This is it. Yes. Where is it? All right. Let me see yours. Okay. Now, once you apply the filter, nothing happens. There is no change. The reason why there is no change is because we have not set the condition. Understand that we've not set any condition. So if you look at this part of the screen, you see we are filtering by all. Notice that it says all. That means we have not selected the country or the countries which we want to return the data for. So right now we are just, there's no condition applied. Now we will apply the condition. So on that filter, click on this button, this drop down, click on it. Now once you click on it, you will see all the unique data. This shows you no country will repeat because it shows you all unique values from this field of country. So remember what we said yesterday about using categorical data, that we can always summarize our data based on what they have in common. And I use country, I can use operating systems as an example, that we can group people in this classroom based on the operating system of their phones. Same thing is happening here. I can filter this data to return only the rows that match the given condition. So if I want to see only movies that are produced in USA, all I have to do now is, so you can use the search and search for USA, then you select USA. You will only return movies, the title of movies that are produced in USA. So here I will just search for USA, and here it is. So click on it and say okay. Now your view has changed, but because most of the movies are produced in USA already, so you wouldn't see much change. But best believe, when you look at your filter now, you see at the top that it says USA, right? So you are now returning only fields in the title that matches fields from country USA. Victor, looking perplexed.
So country, nothing is showing. So
No. Now, hold on. Take a deep breath. Where is your pivot? So in your rows, there's nothing in your rows. So bring title to rows. So there's no title. Bring title to rows. Right. Now come to the filter and filter, search for USA. Click on it. Then say okay. All right. If you have any issues, call me fast because we already spend time beating around the bush and it's not to solve the problem. So now that we're using USA, it's there's no it's not very obvious because the data is still plenty. So I want you to change the filter from USA to Iran. Okay, I want to use Chile. Check if there's Chile, use your Chile. There's Chile. Okay, only one movie. So once you set it to that to that filter, you see that the view changes now. The 33. All right. Okay. So now, if you are to build a chart, the chart would display what you filtered out. That is the way it works. That's why I say filtering is the most important. You can only visualize what you've filtered, what you have selected. I didn't want to use the word selecting because filtering means selecting based on condition. You set a condition and only the rows that meet that condition will be returned. If a row does not meet that condition, it will not be returned. So when you set the condition to be Chile, you got only one row being returned. When you set it to USA, you get all the rows that meet the condition of USA. Once you set it to Iran, you get only the rows that meet that condition of Iran. Now, in your raw data, the way it works is that you have the title here, and then you have the country, right? So if a certain title was USA, that row will be returned. If a certain title was Iran, if you set your filter in the pivot table to Iran, that is the row that will be returned. That's just the way it works. So filtering is the most important part. Is the most important part. It's just like let's say an example now, you have a data for the whole of Nigeria. And now you want to look at specific, remember, talk about stratification, although we've not treated that as a topic. But I mentioned stratas and stratum, which is the plural and singular, right? Now, the stratum are the way you can cut that data into smaller pieces. That is stratification. So in a population of Nigeria, I only want to look at men, the male citizens, above 45 in Rivers State. How do I do that? I have to filter the data to arrive at that condition so that it will only return rows where the gender is male, the state of origin is Rivers State. Yes, and the age is above 45. Now I can go ahead after getting my selection to now do any chart I want. So this is the most important part of analyzing data. If you don't know how to filter, forget about building charts. All your charts you're building is rubbish. Rubbish. So this is the most basic filter you can use in Excel. Excel has so many filters, so many ways of filtering data, and we'll cover all of that hopefully by the end of today. Now, let's look at how to do multiple filtering, right? Talking about multiple filtering, I hope all the versions of Excel permits you to do this. So if I click on this, you can see select multiple items. Do you have that? Cool. So, Victory, what's happening? You're closing deals. Click on your drop down, click on the filter option. Do you see select multiple items? Cool. This allows you to select multiple items. So you can do, yes, multiple options. And the way it works is, we'll get down to this when we get to programming principles. But for now, I want to use Chile and Iran because those have small rows. Those ones, their data is not much, so that will be very obvious. So I want Chile. First of all, uncheck all. Then first thing I'm looking for is Chile. I don't want China. Then I want Iran. Okay. Then I say okay. Chile and Iran. Then say okay. So once you do that, your pivot table shows you a bracket that you're using multiple items. So multiple items have been met. So what happens is in programming principles, you've heard of the OR operator, right? You've heard of things like AND operators, OR operators. So if a row is Iran, it will return that row. If the row is Chile, it will return that row. So if it is either Iran or Chile, it will return those rows. So it doesn't have, it is not very, very specific. Have you been able to do it? So what you want to do first of all, I'm coming to you. First of all, uncheck this. Then the first option is Chile. Then second one is Iran. Save your selection. So you have that multiple items.
So there's no way when you select multiple items, there's a way.
Now, this question you brought up is very nice, which is the limitation to using this filter method, this filtering method. So the idea now is I want to see my countries, right? Yeah, you want to see a country. So I'll show you how to do that. It's not a it's just a workaround, right? I won't say it's not something that Excel allows you to just do. It's just a cheap trick. You can just maneuver your way. So there's a way you can do it. You can replicate a field, and that field now you have two versions of it. One will go into the filter, one will serve as a column. I'll show you how to do that later. Because the way it works in Excel, once you've engaged a particular value field, you can't use it elsewhere again. So country is a filter. If I bring country to row, it's no longer a filter. But the filter still applies. So now we only see this one is Iran, but maybe you want to see the countries by the side. We'll get to that one later on. I'll show you how to do that. When we come to formatting your pivot table properly, I'll show you how to do that. Because from sometimes, if I'm most times, the sorting is right, you've done the sorting, is working, but the person looking at the pivot table may not understand what they are seeing instantly. So you might want to break it down later. This is not practical because, like I told you yesterday, every field inside of this will become a column. Now, what will happen is that you start having empty space. Yes. Now, okay, because of this, there's something I'll show you about that. So let's do the same thing you just did. I'll take the country from filter to columns. Now I'll have empty spaces. It's fine. I'll have empty spaces. What I want you to do once you see these empty spaces, click on the pivot table and click on the pivot table. Come to pivot table options. You'll be greeted with this window. Yeah. You don't have budgets in your value, so we are using budgets in your value field. That's why yours is empty. So right click on your pivot table and go to, not there. Yeah, here you are. Right click. This one is right click. You can't change part of it. Or right click, then pivot table options. We'll do it again. Click on the pivot table, yes. Cool. Now the reason why you're seeing blank cells is because of this. We've not done this. So it says for empty cells, if you look here, it says for empty cells, show blank. Cool. All I want you to do is inside here, just type 0. So these blank cells, it will populate them with 0. Just say 0 and say okay. So those blank cells will be populated with 0. Now it doesn't always have to be 0, but it can be any value you want to be displayed inside a blank cell. So I can do NA, and for me, my blank cells will be displayed with NA. That's where it's going to be for me, but I don't want to do that because we are dealing with calculation. So I'll just use 0. And that's that. Let me see yours. All right. Cool. Very, very, very cool. Very, very impressive. All right. So what to do now? Back to the filter. I just brought this up because of something Chile did. One thing I will always encourage you to do is play around with the software. Anything you're learning, play with it, break it, spoil it. It is only then you actually learn. Because while I'm trying to teach you the right thing, in my head, I'm trying to teach you things to do to avoid error. There are some errors you would only get when you play around with the software. And then when you see those things, and I'm like, okay, yes, when you get these errors, these are the things you should do. But best practice, nobody usually just goes there to make those mistakes, but it's good to know. So I'll always advise you to play around with your tool. Try things out on your own time. Try things out. So let's undo this, bring countries back here, undo this. And this time around, I only want USA. For what we want to do, we'll need USA. I don't want multiple items. I just want only USA. Or better yet, no, don't want to, okay. This is important. When you apply a filter, now you notice that if you grab countries from filter to columns, the condition follows it. Cool. So how do you get rid of your filtering? There's an option that you can. So you have two options actually. If we grab country now to rows, the condition we set is still following it. It's only returning Chile and Iran movies. If I move it to columns, it's still following it. It's only returning Chile and Iran movies. Yes, but this sorting still sticks with it. So two ways you can get rid of it is by clicking on this and saying all. That's one. This will get rid of all of it. Then the second way is by clicking on the pivot table itself, then coming to analyze, then come to clear and clear filters. So you have two options, like I said. You can, okay, let's, for now, just stick with this. Set it to all and say, okay, for now, let's not do too much. one step at a time. So click, send the country back to filters, take it out of the column, but this is not neat. Then remove the filter, go to set it to all, click on all. No, you didn't select it. Do it again. All. Yes. Then say okay. All right. Congratulations. Are you done with this? Did you copy this down? Hey, we're not there yet. We've not even gotten to visualizing anything. We're just still looking at how to sort data, because the sorting part is the most important part. If you can't sort the data, you can't analyze anything. Now, there's a drop down on top of your pivot table. Click on it. Click on it. So what we just click on it, what we will talk about there is the values filter and labels filter. Two very important concepts, value filters and label filters. So for what you are seeing, these are the labels. These are the labels. Everything in text is considered a label. Everything in number is considered a value. So these are your labels, these are your values. So when you pick between label filters or value filters, you are saying, I want to sort based on text-based sorting. Now, this is very, very useful. Very useful. Labels and value filters are very useful. So if you're sorting by labels, that means you want to sort based on text. And remember, you can have multiple text-based columns here. You can have multiple. Doesn't mean okay. Perhaps we should add a one or two to broaden the scope. So what I will do is I'll bring the gross revenue to values. So we have two values. Then leave country in filters for now. Okay, let's bring language to filters. All right, now it's getting interesting. So let's use our value filters. So, sorry, label filters rather. So go on to label filters and just click on it. Don't pick anything yet. Just click on label filters. Don't pick anything yet. Now, what we have is we have the equals, does not equals, begins with, does not begins with, ends with, does not end with, contains, does not contains, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, between and not between. So when you say equals, if we say equal, if the label, so this is a row-based operation. It is a row-based operation. If the value we pass in says metrics, and we're using the equals, If there is no row that matches this exact sequence, it will not return it. It will return only rows that matches this exact sequence. So if what we have in our database is matrix 1, matrix 2, matrix 3, and you pass matrix, it will not return all of this because this does not equal this. They are not the same sequence. The way computers read, they don't read like human beings that can say, this is the part, this is the part. It doesn't work like that for computers. Computers look at values based on sequence of characters. So there is a uppercase M followed by, on the second place is A, T, R, I, and X. The length is 6, and this is the sequence. So you have to pass this same sequence in the same position that they appear. This is the sequence. That is the way computers read. So it's not like it's looking at it like a human perspective and saying that this is matrix and this is matrix plus one. So when you say equals, you have to pass in the exact sequence. Now, the equals, why this effective is that sometimes the sequence you're passing, or in this case, the title may be too long and like stressful to type. So you might want to use some other option that may not be tedious in typing. So let's do some examples. Let's do some example. Let's use the equal. And once you open this dialog box, click on the equal. Now, once you're here, if you click on this drop down, you can change any of the parameters. You see all the other options. Every option you saw before, you still see them. You can change it from the equals to does not equal. So the only one you click in the initial is of little consequence because you can always change it. It's always changeable. You don't have to click the particular one you just want to use. It's of little consequence. So here, you can see we can change to any of the previous options we saw earlier. So let's use Friday, because there's a title called Friday, right? All right, so let's use Friday. And I say, okay, the only row that matches the sequence I passed is Friday, Friday. So only that row will be returned. You don't have to use uppercase. Excel is not case sensitive. It uses if you look upper or lower, it will still work. Now it's not like some other programming languages. It's fine. I've seen it. Take 3. You done it. All right. So I want to see. There's a movie, Over the Hill to the Poor House. I want to see the budget and the revenue for that movie. Over the Hill to the Poor House. There is a label, Over the Hill to the Poor House. That is the one I want you to filter. I'll return the budget and the position. No. Over the Hill to the Poor House. Yes. You've not seen it. What are you typing? You're lost. You're not lost. You're well founded. Over the hill to the poorhouse. Title, you took title to filter. Now, you are showing, this is correct. Now, like I said, arrangement is important. You took title to filter, and you filtered over the hill to the poorhouse. Now you are seeing the budget. Now, the reason why you're not seeing the gross revenue is because you did not add it to your values.
Okay.
Mhm. Now, the reason why you're getting 0 is because your sequence does not match. Now, these are issues that I want to address with this filtering pattern. So go back to your filtering. Go back to your label filters. Go back to your label filters. So because we use the equals, it's hard to find such long titles. So switch to contains. Now, with the contains, you don't have to be very, very specific. So you can type maybe poorhouse or over the hill. There's no such, no, let me see. Labels. You know, we get, where is that over? This is it. What we're looking for. We want to terminate that one. So let's continue to filter. Things. Okay. So I see that because it contains those phrases. Let's just add here. So if you add here now, I think we should be the only one that returns over the heap of the forehouse. All right, victory. We should find the title over the hill to the poorhouse. So see the way mine is displaying. Stop using this cheat method. Bring it to rows.
Oh, okay.
Then sort it with contains.
Okay.
Then just type some of the phrase. Okay, it's okay, it's okay. Search now. You should, something must be wrong with your spelling. Got something wrong. It's hill, not hills. Like I say, the phrase matters. Hill. So because there was no hills, it returns 0. So the gross revenue is 0 for you. Why? Why? Your own 2 is 0. What's yours? 0. Okay, I forgot. We are using 2 different sheets. I must have tampered with your own. When I sent you a lot, that's why you are getting 0 for the revenue. My bad. All right, now this is a cool. Remember yesterday, you created your pivot table from a range, right? This is now the difference between creating from a range and creating from a table. The key difference is, write this down. When you create your data, your pivot table from a range, if you make any change in the raw data, it does not update in the pivot table. And that is bad. Because what if there is an update in the raw data? You have to create a new pivot table again. Every time you make a small change, you have to create a new pivot table again. But when you create a pivot table from a table, whenever you update that table, the update automatically affects the pivot table. Now, in your case, where over the hill to the poorhouse has revenue of 0, let's now go back and create this pivot table from a table. Now, I'll show you how to do that. If you create the pivot table from a range and you make a change in the raw data, it does not update in the pivot table. But if you create it from a table, any change you make in the raw data updates in the table. That's the difference. So now you see that creating a pivot table from a table is way, way better off than creating it from just a range. And your sheet already has a table, but I'll show you how to create a table so that you will enjoy it. All right. Yes, go on.
This the one you use,
Yes.
the raw data you're using.
Mhm. Your own has a table, my own does not have. I will show you how to create a new table. And then we'll create the pivot table from the new table. And then you will see that if you update anything in the raw data, it will update on the pivot table.
Like from this our own
Yes.
you create
With the table, yes, you created with a range. That was what we are doing, selecting from A1 to RO37. Yes, yes, that's what we did. But now we will create it from a table. Yes. So to achieve that, go back to your raw data. Now, this sheet you are on, hold on. Give it a name. Double click on that sheet 1. If you're on sheet 2, double click on sheet 2. Call it range because this is the pivot table that was created from a range. Call it range. Then you go back to the raw data. Very, very well. Also, where did the detail come from? This detail happens when there's where you click your pivot table. It will show you the detail for that row or for that element. So this one is of no importance. It's of zero consequence. It happens when you click your pivot table one kind, like maybe if you click some, see what I'm saying. It opens details again. So this you can delete. It's of zero consequence. When you see that, it means you've clicked on the pivot table one kind. So it's of zero consequence. So stay on your raw data for now. Victory. Change the name of your sheet 1 to range. Because that pivot table was created from a range. And we want to create a new pivot table from a table. And then we'll see the difference. Sometimes it will be the same, but regardless. Yes, go on. Yes.
make
It's like doing copy and paste. It's like I copied this data and use it to create the pivot table, disconnecting this one from the, yes. For the table establishes a connection that these guys should read data, the pivot table should read data from here. So I can always copy, just like I said, it's a copy and paste. All right. So let's get going. And this time, once you have to select the entire data again. Select the entire data. Maybe after me forgot how to select the data. Prove me wrong. Mm-hmm. Hold on. Stop. Take a deep breath. Stop. Have you? You've not. So start click on this. Click on here. Hold Control and Shift down. Then go right. Go down. That's it. It's not that difficult. You select all of these rows. I don't think we've gotten here. Do it again. Let me see. Control and Shift. Go right. No, just you have to just click once. Control and Shift. Right. Up. That's it. Just click once. How about you? All right. So with the whole table selected, come to home. Make sure you are here. Home. Home. You there? Inside there, you see an option that says Format as Table. Are you seeing that? Format as Table. All right. So just click on it. Now, once you click on Format as Table, you'll be presented with these table styles. Depending on your computer and your system, if you hover, sometimes it updates the design in real time. Your computer can carry it. Please, you're not doing that. If you hover on the design, it's not. Okay. Yes, it's supposed to, once you hover like this, it's supposed to give you a preview of what the table will look like. Nobody's nothing like that. Even with your supercomputer. Not. All right. Doesn't matter. So I'll just click on this one for me. I'll click on this green table like that. And make sure you check my table has headers. Click on any of the design, anyone. Okay. Now, where you find it is let me confirm with my version. So my table, usually you get this option and you say my table has headers and go ahead and say okay. So now I have a table. So if I come here, how do I even find that table again? Hold on. I'm trying to remember where that table. Once you create the table, it's going to disappear. Then you have to rename the table. All right, so this is it. I found it. Click on anywhere on your data set, on your sheet. Click on anywhere, it doesn't matter. So here that it says A1 is being selected. Click on this drop down. You see table 1. So for somebody like maybe You will see table 1, 2, 3, 4 because you've created 20 tables. Just click on anywhere, it doesn't matter. Here you're seeing the cells. If you click on this, the table, where did it go? I'm only seeing one table. Movies. Hold on. Let me see. How many tables are you having? One. Movies. Hmm. Movies is the one I created. I created movies myself. So let me see something. Not a statement. Supposed to give me. Was supposed to give me the options to rename the table. Perhaps it's because you already have a table.
From the Excel.
Yes. Yes. No, it's not from the Excel, it's from the file. The file already had a table. But the idea is there's a table. So I'm going to give my table a name called movies. And yes, so I already created a table. Yes. Yes. So this is my table now, movies, right? I have table 1 and I have movies. I'm supposed to give you 2 tables. But nevertheless, so with select your entire data set again. You can do Control A, it should pick everything for you. Okay. Now, come back to Insert, Pivot Table. So now it asks you for pivot table or range. Yes. So hold on. Yours should be saying movies now, right? Good, because movies is the name of the already existing table. So say okay. Say okay. And create it to a new sheet. Don't worry about what you're seeing on mine. So for mine, I will change this from table 1. Leave it as table 1. I think I have a table called movies. And I'll say okay. And I have a new sheet. Now this I'll call table, not range, because this pivot table was created from a table. There was the issue.
Your handwriting, like the dialogue box is
It's the same. It's the same. Okay,
like,
okay.
it has more options.
Does it? Yeah, I think it's the same. Created. Okay. Now that it's created, repeat the same thing we did for the range. Repeat the same thing. This same sorting, repeat it. The same sorting you did here, just repeat it inside this one. Repeat the same thing. Sought it to woman the over the hill to the poorhouse. You done? Victory. Are you done? Do maybe almost.
It's just because when you watch it,
You're done. Have you sorted it to show only over the hill to the poorhouse? Include it. Are you done? Maybe? Well done. All right, congratulations. Um, what you do now is go to your raw data. Go to your raw data. Now, go to find that title over the hill to the poorhouse, which should be somewhere at the bottom. Number 2. Okay. So find which of them is 0 in your sheet? The budget. Budget. Gross revenue. Turn it to 300,000. Let me see. Let me see if it's the same figure I'm getting here. Turn it to 3 million and save it. Then check your pivot table if it has updated. That field, the revenue where it is 0, turn it to 3 million. Then save it, Control S, save it. Once you do that, save it, Control S. Yes. Then check your pivot table if it has updated. Check the range, let's see. No, hold on. Let me confirm here. Hold on. Okay, hold on, I'll show you. Okay, so I've updated mine to be 0, and this is it now. If I grab the title to rows, okay, don't do that, don't do it like that. Come to your pivot table analyze tools, right? Click on this. Then there's an option of see this refresh button. Go to your pivot table. Maybe go to your pivot table. The one you created from a table is up now. Okay. So come to analyze. There's a so table, right? Where is your analyze tool? Insert formulas, data review help. Oh, no, I wasn't clicking on this. So it was looking for refresh. No updating. Is the to come back here, then refresh. Then if you do the same thing for the range, also refresh. That's because you now have a table. But if you don't have a table, it will not refresh. Any change you make there will not happen. Have you refreshed?
Oh,
So because you have a table, any change made to the raw data can be updated in the pivot table. Now, this includes even when you add new data. So let's say you're working in a organizational structure where every day new data is generated. You don't have to create pivot table every single day. You create the file is the table. Once new data is added, it will be updated in the pivot table. automatically like that. That's how it runs. So now you see the difference between tables and range. Why it's necessary to create your pivot table from a table and not from a range. All right. Another column, yes, it will update. Another row, it will update. But it will not do that for a range. So in my data, you can do this. The last movie is what? Atlantic. Okay, that's not the last movie. Let me look for the last title. The last movie title is Woman in Gold 2. Woman in Gold, right? What I want to do is select the entire row, copy it, and paste it. What's the last one you have? You have what? Hold on. We are not looking at the same thing. It cannot be biography. Your last title. This is in general. So, Woman in Gold 2 is your last title. So, turn this to Woman in Gold 5. Just do it like that. Or, no. Select the entire row, that cell, the entire row. Control Shift right. Do Control C to copy. Then go to the next line, like the next row, and do Control V to paste. Let me see that. Why is it not pasted? Nothing was copied. Do it again. Control Shift. No, the whole cell, the whole row should be copied. Control Shift. Go right. Control and C. Okay. Then go to the next. Control and V. Cool. So see what the mistake you made. It's not up to date. So Control Z. Then paste it now. Control V. Cool. Make this one 3. Woman in Gold 3. Let's assume there's part 3 of the movie. Save. Inside here, if we search for, so we need to refresh again because we added new data. So we need to refresh and refresh. So we are using label fields, right? And we're using contains. Now search for woman. What's that title? Why isn't it coming up? Why even say woman in gold? Let's see again. Contains gold. Let me say it's not coming up. Oh, yes, you have a filter that says only US. That's why. So, woman in gold 1, 2, 3. That filter of USA was prevent. Perhaps it's not a USA movie. No.
I didn't get what you said.
Go back to your raw data. Go to the last cell, the very, very last one.
I should keep going on.
No, the last row. Go to the last row. Go to declare that.
Okay, this side.
Select the entire row, the last row, duplicate it. Control C, Control V.
Control C.
Do it, paste it in the next row. Change that 2 to 3. Let's just assume the same movie has part 1, part 2, part 3. Now save the work. Go back to your refresh this. Now search for, sort it so that you get movies that have woman in code. Sort it, your label. You can use gold or woman. It should come up. Excuse me. But check if you see that one, that part 1, 2.
There's no 3.
There's no 3. Is it the one you created from a table or from the range?
From the table.
It's supposed to pop up. No, this is sheet 1. This cannot be sheet 1.
This is the one we did the first. This is the first one we did from the range. This is from the table.
This is from the range.
This is from the table. This is from the range.
This is from the range. Okay, let me see. Refresh. This one contains woman in gold and woman in gold too. It's 10 years and a filter. Oh, that filter. Why does that happen?
Because copied and pasted.
Regardless, it's supposed to work. Something that works in the movies system. It's supposed to work. It's, really? What's the issue?
My system.
Okay, it's finally up. All right, so that is the concept. Once you have a table and data is added to the table, it updates in real time. So this solves that problem of creating a new pivot table anytime a new data is added to your raw data. So quick. What I want you to understand is this, that when it comes to label and value field settings, they do the same thing. So I'll just give you a rundown on how it works for most of those value field settings. So we've done equals, right? Does not equal is the opposite of equal. Begins with, if I say begins with, it will only give me titles that begins with the phrase or the word I pass. So if I say movies that begins with A, just A, it will only give me things that begin with A, and they are quite plenty. If I say begins with woman, I will only get movies that begins with woman. So this is my raw data, and it should not catch woman in gold part 1 and part 2 because this is from the range. So if I say movies that begins with, let's say, Christmas. So Christmas with the who? With the Krant. That begins with. So for contains, as long as that phrase exists somewhere in between the label, it will return any row that contains the phrase you suggest. Begins with checks from the beginning. Ends with will check from the end, the last phrase. So contains, as long as it is in between, anywhere it exists anywhere, it will return. Does not contains is the opposite of contains. Now, the trick is the greater than. The way Excel reads it is this. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, up to Z. So if I say movies titles greater than B, it will return from C. So it's going from B, and we will get from B up to every other thing. You can get up to S. So if I switch this to less than B, we'll be getting things like from A. Okay, let me try something else. I'll try something else. Less than D. So I should be getting from A to. So I'm getting from A, and the last field I should get should be C. Don't worry about the grand total because, like I said, A is the lowest, Z is the greatest. Yes, the first alphabet of the label. Yes. Then between is between A and, like I can say, between A and. So between takes in two phrases. So between, if I can say between A and C. So I can say between A and C. And you can see I'm only getting items between A and C, which stops at B. Are you good with that? So not between is the opposite of the between. All that goes alongside. Then let's deal with value fields. Go on. Yes. Apart from, okay. I get the answer. The answer to your question is simple. I understand where you're coming from. This time around, we'll use values filter. Remember, we have label and value. And all we've been doing was label. So this time around, switch to value filter. So if I say equal, so I'll pick before we go, I'll pick a number. So this also happens. Stop happening. Please stop happening. So let's go and do a value filter. So because we have some filters applied, remember to clear your filter, you come to your pivot table, analyze, and you do clear and clear filters. So that gets rid of all the filters in your table. Always remember that's very important to clear filters every now and then. So now we want to switch to value fields. And if I say equal to, it is requiring a number. Now, we can switch between the gross and the budget because these are the two values we have here. Again, if I include something like the movie Facebook like to my values, and then I switch to value field settings and I say equal to, now I will have three options to pick from. So maybe I want to pick movies that have only, say, 14,000 Facebook likes. So I would switch my field to movie Facebook likes, and I'll say equals, then I'll add 14,000. If that's 14,000, I can't see from here. I say okay. So you see that all the rows returned are rows where the movie Facebook like is exactly 14,000. Value. See. Values. Bring the Facebook, movie Facebook like to values. Movie Facebook like. Movie. 14,000. Cool. So only the rows where the Facebook like is 14,000. Are you formatting? Which one are you adding?
We are doing from the table now, so those formats.
Okay, the number format have gone out.
Page.
Okay. All right. So the same logic that applies to label fields also applies to value fields. It's the same thing. You pick the label you want to use or the field you want to use, and you set the condition. That is what filtering is, selecting based on condition. I hope it's now practically clear that filtering is you set a condition and it only return the data that meets your condition. That is filtering. So With all said and done, let me give you a small classwork. All right. Find the USA director that has produced the movie with the highest revenue. Very, very easy. Victory, are you with us? Yes, the director that has produced the movie that has the highest revenue.